Cyclone MMA. So more than 2 years have passed since UFC 229, and I just remember being really excited for, this matchup, Khabib versus Conor. You have Conor McGregor, the biggest star in the sport of MMA, versus Khabib, the most dominant fighter, undefeated champion. And then you had the whole incident with, the dolly being thrown at the bus, and you had all the controversy with Conor McGregor, and you had Conor McGregor, who had fought Floyd Mayweather before this, the best boxer to ever live. By some people consider him that. You just had this crazy storyline for UFC 229, and you kind of knew it was a special pay-per-view. Now, with that storyline and those fighters alone, it would have sold so many pay-per-views, but the card was actually really, really good. You had Michelle Waterson on this card, Derrick Lewis versus Volkov. You had Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis as the co-main. It was a pretty solid card, and you also had a fighter like Dominic Reyes, who would later fight for a title. So yes, the main event, Conor versus Khabib, was an absolute, iconic fight. But I want to talk about some stuff that led up to that, because you had a lot of special moments. You had Derrick Lewis, he was losing the entire fight against Volkov. He knocked him out in the last 10 seconds of the fight or something, and gave one of the most memorable post-fight interviews with Joe Rogan.
Derrick, why'd you take your pants off?
My balls was hot.
Derrick Lewis became an overnight sensation because of the amount of eyes that were on this event. He was different, he was funny, and he, got a ton of Instagram followers overnight, a lot of clout, and he would eventually fight for the title, partially due to the fact that he got all this clout because of, his knockout and him being such a funny and interesting person. Because, there's a lot of casual fans tuning in, and they see this humongous man knock someone out, do a crazy Black Beast celebration, and then take his pants off in the octagon. It's just absolute madness. Then we fast forward, and we have Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis. We got Ferguson coming back from a leg injury. He was a stripped interim champion. He's someone who hadn't lost, and he was not supposed to be back for a long time because of his leg injury, but he comes back, 5 to 6 months after the injury. And Anthony Pettis and Tony Ferguson put on an absolute barn burner. It ended up being fight of the year, and it was just a bloodbath. You had the guys smiling, they were doing spinning shit, they were showing some really, really good grappling. And although the fight ended after the second round, and you had a corner stoppage there, it still ended up being fight of the year, and it was just a really good appetizer for the main event, which would be Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, if you're someone who doesn't like watching that much grappling, the main event might not have been the most entertaining thing for you, especially if you're a Conor McGregor fan. If you're a Khabib fan, you absolutely loved the way that the main event went down, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, you had Conor McGregor showing really, really good takedown defense. And that's not sarcastic. He actually did. He did a really good job in that first round. You had him giving Khabib his first round that he had lost in his career. Conor McGregor took round 3. Khabib had never lost a round up to that point. And then, you had Khabib ultimately getting the neck crank finish. And then you had Khabib jumping out of the cage, trying to attack Dylan Dennis, which I think a lot of people were upset about it. But there was a small group of people who were like, that's kind of funny. It was just one of the more bizarre things you'll see in a sporting event, and it was just really special. I just remember the anticipation and nervousness of watching this fight, how excited I was. It was just the storyline, it's a once-in-a-lifetime storyline, and since UFC 229, I haven't had an event that's made me as excited as UFC 229. I don't know about you guys, but UFC 229 was one of my favorite moments in sports. I watch a lot of different sports. I'm a big baseball guy, but UFC 229 sticks out and just hits different. All right, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe below. And leave me a comment below of any specific UFC events that were really special to you and that stuck out as being, an awesome night of fights. Peace out, guys. In the UFC, interim belts are kind of overused. Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson.
Amanda. Duh.
Next, we got Artem Lobov. We're going to stick him right up at S tier. Just kidding.